What connects a car garage, a war bond tour, and a yacht? They serve as the somber stages for some of Hollywood's most captivating and tragic deaths, pulling back the curtain on the dark underbelly of the Golden Age. The mysterious death of Thelma Todd inside a garage, likely enveloped by carbon monoxide fumes, still echoes with unanswered questions. Carole Lombard's fiery plane crash amidst her courageous efforts for a war bond rally left an indelible mark of heartbreak and heroism. Natalie Wood's mysterious drowning during what was supposed to be a luxurious evening on a yacht still carries whispers of scandal and speculation, casting shadows even on the brightest of stars. These moments emphasize how fleeting and vulnerable the lives of these legends were, exposing a world filled with beauty, fame, and inevitable tragedy. Thelma Todd's untimely death on December 16, 1935, remains one of Hollywood's most puzzling mysteries. Known as the Ice Cream Blonde, Todd was a comedic sensation whose charisma lit up the silver screen. Her body was discovered in her car inside the garage of Roland West, her lover and business partner, with carbon monoxide poisoning listed as the official cause. However, this explanation left many questions unanswered. Bruises on her face and the presence of alcohol in her system raised suspicions of foul play. Adding to the intrigue were her connections to underworld figures like Lucky Luciano, who allegedly pressured her to allow gambling in her cafe. West later claims that her death was accidental only deepened the enigma, as no formal charges were ever filed. Todd's death underscored the vulnerability of even the most beloved stars in a town where power and secrets often intertwined. Once celebrated for her radiant beauty and talent in films like Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, Barbara Payton's life stands as one of Hollywood's most infamous cautionary tales. Her career and personal life spiraled into chaos. By the 1950s, she was embroiled in scandal, abusive relationships, and a highly publicized love triangle involving actors Franchot Tone and Tom Neal. This love triangle captured the public's imagination and was widely covered by the media, contributing to the tumultuous nature of her personal life. Her involvement with Tone and Neal led to physical confrontations and legal battles, further tarnishing her image and impacting her career opportunities. Substance abuse and poor financial decisions exacerbated her decline. Her dependence on alcohol and drugs, combined with reckless spending habits, led her down a destructive path. By the early 1960s, she had become a shadow of her former self, struggling to find work in an industry that had once celebrated her. The once glamorous actress found herself living in poverty, often relying on friends and acquaintances for support. She had several failed marriages and tumultuous relationships, which added to her emotional and psychological turmoil. These factors, along with her substance abuse issues, contributed to her downward spiral. Despite attempts to revive her career and regain some semblance of stability, Payton's life continued to unravel. Her later years were marked by periods of homelessness and desperation as she struggled to make ends meet. On May 8, 1967, Barbara Payton succumbed to cirrhosis of the liver and heart failure at just 39 years old. Her tragic fall from grace underscores the fleeting nature of fame and the destructive forces of addiction and exploitation in Hollywood's unforgiving landscape. By the 1940s, Veronica Lake had captured attention in Hollywood as the embodiment of mystery and allure. Her cascading blonde waves and her peekaboo hairstyle became iconic images of film noir, while her compelling screen performances in movies like Sullivan's Travels and I Married a Witch solidified her celebrity status. However, as the decade came to a close, her once soaring career began to falter. While audiences were captivated by her sultry gaze, behind the scenes, personal and professional challenges started to take their toll. Lake's temperament was often described as difficult by directors and co-stars, which contributed to her reputation within the industry. Coupled with financial struggles following bad investments and erratic decisions, these challenges began to limit opportunities. Compounding the issue further, her battle with alcoholism spiraled, leaving her isolated and unable to capitalize on her fame. Veronica Lake's life outside the spotlight showcased a woman fighting inner demons that eventually stripped her of her Hollywood stature. Her decline in wealth resulted in devastating realities. At one point, Lake was working as a waitress in a New York hotel under the name Connie DeToff. A once gilded life had turned into one of financial hardship and displacement. Public recognition barely remained as stories emerged of her struggling from job to job. She wrote an autobiography in 1969, offering a revealing look into her struggles and fame's fleeting nature, yet it barely revived her reputation. In the final years of her life, Lake suffered from severe health complications caused by decades of hard living. Diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver and acute kidney issues attributed to her prolonged alcohol abuse, she spent her last days hospitalized in Vermont. Separated from the limelight and the applause of her earlier life, her passing on July 7, 1973, at the age of 50, was met with muted acknowledgement. True to her wishes, her ashes were scattered at sea, a gesture reflective of both her solitude and her attempt to seek final freedom from the rigid constructs of stardom. Even in death, Veronica Lake's life remained a sobering reminder of the fleeting nature of fame and the toll of personal challenges. Despite her desires for peace, the poignancy of her story echoes the fragility of those who once basked in Hollywood's glow, but later found themselves shadowed by despair. Shortly before her tragic death at the young age of 26, Jean Harlow had been working on the MGM film Saratoga, a production which was ultimately overshadowed by her swift and untimely demise. Known as the quintessential blonde bombshell, Harlow was beloved for her vivacious on-screen presence and undeniable allure. However, her sudden decline in health toward the end of May 1937 foreshadowed a devastating outcome. Diagnosed with uremic poisoning, a severe condition stemming from kidney failure, Harlow's health deteriorated rapidly in an era when medical science lacked the means to effectively treat such ailments. Her death on June 7, 1937, was a stark reminder of these limitations. Reports suggested that during her final days, Harlow suffered a range of symptoms, including fatigue, nausea, and swelling, indicative of kidney dysfunction. These were likely exacerbated by a scarlet fever infection she endured in childhood, which may have compromised her renal health over time. Compounding the tragedy was her mother's reliance on spiritual healing methods, a controversial decision that might have delayed timely medical intervention. This has led to speculation that earlier treatment could have altered the outcome, though the advanced stage of Harlow's ailment left little room for optimism. Harlow's passing shocked her colleagues and fans alike. Hollywood was plunged into mourning, with her close friend and co-star, Clark Gable, visibly shattered by the loss. Gable, who had worked closely with her on projects like Red Dust, served as a pallbearer at her funeral, underscoring the deep respect and affection she commanded. Production of Saratoga was left incomplete, forcing MGM to resort to body doubles and innovative editing to finalize her scenes, a painful reminder of her absence. The tragedy of her death underscored the fragility of stardom, a poignant juxtaposition to the glamour and seemingly untouchable image associated with Hollywood legends. As America's darling in the 1930s, Jean Harlow's ability to blend on-screen sensuality with an innate comedic talent made her a trailblazing figure of her time. Yet, her story also revealed the human vulnerabilities hidden behind the glitz and decors of the silver screen. In hindsight, her life and death have come to symbolize both the transient nature of fame and the medical constraints of her era, leaving a legacy both celebrated and mourned. Her life was a kaleidoscope of artistry, rebellion, and despair. Frances Farmer's brilliance shone brightly during the golden age of Hollywood, captivating audiences with her beauty and talent in films like Come and Get It and Son of Fury. Yet her essence was more than her on-screen presence. Frances was known for her sharp intellect and unwavering defiance of the rigid norms of Hollywood in the 1930s and 1940s. She rejected the glamorous veneer of the industry, openly criticizing its superficiality and conformity. This unyielding courage, however, placed her on a collision course with a film industry that demanded compliance and punished deviation. Born on September 19, 1913, in Seattle, she displayed an independent streak from a young age. Her boldness extended beyond her acting and into her interaction with the structures of fame and fortune. But such resistance to an oppressive system came with enormous personal costs. As her career blossomed, Farmer's private battles became increasingly public. Her erratic behavior, legal troubles, and highly publicized arrests painted a tragic picture of a woman struggling to find authenticity within a stifling environment. In the 1940s, her life took an even darker turn. Farmer was institutionalized against her will, reflecting the prevalence of harsh treatment during an era that understood little about mental health. Accounts of her time in psychiatric facilities are riddled with stories of degradation and abuse, including forced treatments like electroconvulsive therapy. Whispers even suggested that she underwent a lobotomy, an allegation never confirmed yet illustrative of the level of dehumanization she endured at the hands of the mental health system of the time. Her institutionalization marked not only a low point in her personal life, but also served as a harsh commentary on society's treatment of strong-willed women who dared to challenge norms. Despite her struggles, Farmer's self-awareness never entirely diminished. She attempted a semblance of normalcy in the later years of her life, hosting a local TV program called Frances Farmer Presents in the 1950s. The job offered a glimpse of redemption and stability, but her past traumas cast a long shadow. After years of retreat from public life, she succumbed to esophageal cancer on August 1, 1970, at only 56 years old. In death, as in life, she left an indelible mark that's often revisited in conversations about the mental and emotional cost of challenging the status quo. Frances Farmer's story resonates as a cautionary tale and as a beacon of resilience. Her life exposes the vulnerabilities of a brutal industry and a society unprepared to support those grappling with mental health issues. Her enduring legacy serves as a reminder of the price of defiance and the need for a compassionate understanding of human frailty in the face of suffering and systematic oppression. Although celebrated as a uniquely gifted character actress during Hollywood's golden era, she often flew under the radar in an industry dominated by glamorous leading ladies. Her turn in Miracle on 34th Street marked the beginning of a career breakthrough, playing a weary Christmas shopper whose brief scene won critical acclaim and thrust her into the spotlight. Building on her early success, Ritter demonstrated a penchant for playing tough, down-to-earth characters, often embodying women of modest means who possessed a wisdom that outshone their circumstances. She became a fixture in memorable supporting roles in films such as All About Eve and the romantic comedy Pillow Talk, partnering with titans of cinema, yet maintaining her distinct allure. Her success came with 6 Academy Award nominations for Best Supporting Actress, unmatched by anyone in the category at the time. Despite falling short of winning an Oscar, Ritter's work remained a benchmark for defining what it means to be a character actor. Off the screen, Ritter was notably reserved, focused more on perfecting her craft than mingling with the entertainment world's social extravagances. She was every bit the working actress who valued her ability to transform into a role, gaining respect and credibility among her peers and film historians alike. The trajectory of her career showed her to be more than a scene stealer. She elevated her supporting characters into necessary elements, a testament to her thoughtful approach to acting. Her portrayal of a meddling housekeeper in Rear Window and a cynical nurse in The Misfits remains examples for actors hungry to infuse vitality into smaller, impactful roles. Even in age, this versatility paved her way to Broadway, where she won a Tony Award, showcasing her talents even beyond Hollywood. Ritter's legacy stands larger than life for her invaluable contributions as the bridge between leading stars and gripping storytelling that resonates deeply with audiences, even through seamless comedic timing. It is a fitting legacy that an actress who championed purposeful, dialogue-rich cinema ended. On September 13, 1982, Grace Kelly, celebrated actress and Princess of Monaco, was driving with her daughter, Princess Stephanie, on a steep mountain road when tragedy struck. Grace was behind the wheel when it is believed she suffered a stroke, causing her to lose control of the vehicle. The car plunged down a treacherous 120-foot slope, finally coming to rest in a mangled state. Emergency responders rushed the 2 women to the hospital. Princess Stephanie sustained minor injuries and managed to survive the ordeal, but Grace's condition was far graver. She had suffered a severe cerebral hemorrhage compounded by other critical injuries. Doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize her, but her injuries proved too severe. The following day, on September 14, 1982, at the age of 52, she succumbed to her injuries. Her death was officially attributed to the stroke she suffered while driving, which ultimately led to the fatal crash. In the hours following the accident, rumors swirled, and many speculations arose about the circumstances, some questioning whether Princess Stephanie might have been driving at the time, but these claims were dispelled. Grace Kelly's untimely death sent shock waves around the globe. Adored as a Hollywood icon, she had captivated audiences with her work in iconic films like Rear Window and High Society, and had once been the epitome of glamour and poise. However, she left behind her stardom to marry Prince Rainier III in 1956, transitioning seamlessly from the silver screen to the role of a real-life princess. This transformation was marked by her dedication to her duties as the Princess of Monaco, embodying the same grace and charm that had made her a cinematic legend. This tragedy not only robbed Monaco of their beloved princess, but also marked the end of an era. Grace's funeral was held at Monaco's cathedral, of Our Lady Immaculate on September 18, 1982, attended by mourners from around the world. Her sudden passing created a void in the hearts of fans and citizens alike, with countless tributes pouring in to honor her legacy. Her death remains a poignant moment in the history of Hollywood and European royalty, a bittersweet reminder of her captivating life and untimely farewell. Through the shimmering lights of her illustrious Hollywood career, Marilyn Monroe carved a path synonymous with fame, beauty, and talent. Yet, her life was as complex as it was celebrated. On August 5, 1962, a shadow fell over Tinseltown as news spread of Monroe's death at her home in Brentwood, Los Angeles. Found in her bedroom, she was surrounded by empty pill bottles, the remnants of barbiturates signaling a fatal overdose. The official verdict, a probable suicide, left the world grappling with the loss of a star at just 36 years old. However, the circumstances of that fateful night have continued to spur countless conspiracy theories, each shrouded with intrigue. Marilyn was a figure whose life seemed intertwined with the machinations of fame and the darker underpinnings of power. A critical element of the speculation surrounding her death ties her life to close associations with prominent figures like John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert. For years, whispered rumors alluded to alleged ties between Monroe and the Kennedy family, fueling questions of political entanglements and the pressures these connections may have wrought. While no definitive evidence has ever confirmed such theories, they have only added layers of complexity to her story. The personal challenges Monroe faced in her life were equally daunting. Despite her outward charm and beauty, she lived a life marked by emotional struggles and professional pressures. Her reliance on pills seemed to mirror the weight of her struggles, a coping mechanism as her mental health spiraled under the relentless gaze of public adoration and expectation. With a vivid vulnerability that shone through her interviews and writings, she epitomized the cost of tremendous fame. Her personal journals revealed feelings of isolation, longing, and a fear of being consumed by the industry that glorified her. In the weeks leading to her death, she appeared to hover in a precarious balance. She had been dismissed from the unfinished film, Something's Got to Give, earlier that year due to her erratic behavior, sparking professional turmoil. Yet, Monroe seemed hopeful in personal matters, investing in a new home in Brentwood, as if to signal the desire for a fresh chapter. However, as dusk turned to night on August 4, 1962, events took a darker turn. Her maid, Eunice Murray, noted Monroe's light on late into the night. When she failed to respond, Murray grew concerned, calling Monroe's psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson. By the early hours of August 5, Greenson entered through a broken window to discover Monroe's lifeless body. Media outlets reported the tragedy with muted shock, describing scenes of her final hours repeatedly, her being found face down in bed, a telephone receiver in hand, and the signs of missed opportunities for intervention. These portrayals only underlined the air of mystery and sorrow interwoven through her end. In her autopsy, the absence of pill residue in her stomach raised newer questions, implying that the drugs might not have been ingested through conventional means. These inconsistencies, paired with testimonies and timelines that occasionally conflicted, widened the space for rampant speculation. In the wake of her passing, the world grappled with a profound sense of loss for one of its brightest stars. Marilyn Monroe had become more than her roles in films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Some Like It Hot. She symbolized the mesmerizing allure of Hollywood and its brutal capacity to consume. Her vulnerability, her struggles, and the haunting enigma surrounding her death have since codified Monroe as a tragic icon. In a life perpetually lit with camera flashes, her end remains a private riddle wrapped in public fascination, ensuring her story endures beyond even the most glamorous expectations she embodied. On January 1, 1919, Frances Lillian Mary Ridstay, who would later become known to the world as Carol Landis, was born in Fairchild, Wisconsin. From humble beginnings in a working-class family, with a father of Norwegian descent and a Polish mother, her early life was marked by hardship. Abandoned by her father, the family endured financial challenges. Despite these struggles, she nurtured dreams of stardom while still a young girl. In her teenage years, she adopted the name Carol Landis, inspired by actress Carole Lombard. Her striking beauty and determination helped forge a path to Hollywood, where she eventually landed a contract with 20th Century Fox. In 1940, her career reached a major milestone with the United Artists film 1 Million BC, where her performance catapulted her into the limelight. The success earned her a reputation as an alluring and skilled actress. Throughout the 1940s, she became famous for her roles in musicals and comedies, often paired with major stars of the era. Off-screen, she was a celebrated pinup during World War II, tirelessly contributing to the war effort by traveling overseas to entertain American troops. Her magnetic personality and relatability made her a favorite among both her contemporaries and the soldiers she entertained. Yet, behind her glamorous image lay a woman seeking love and stability. Landis had a turbulent personal life, marrying 4 times, though none of her marriages provided the solace or permanence she craved. Her romantic entanglement with British actor Rex Harrison was particularly fraught. Harrison, married at the time, was unable or unwilling to leave his wife for Landis, leaving the actress heartbroken. While her outward demeanor remained poised and elegant, she suffered greatly from emotional turmoil and a lingering battle with depression. On the night of July 4, 1948, in her lavish Pacific Palisades home, her inner struggles reached a devastating conclusion. Consumed by despair, she took her own life by an overdose of barbiturates. She left behind a note addressed to Harrison, reportedly expressing her pain and longing. Her tragic death the following morning reverberated throughout Hollywood, where she had been a rising star cut down in her prime. Rex Harrison, upon discovering her unconscious body, reportedly delayed calling for medical help, an aspect of the story that has drawn speculation and criticism over the years. Carol Landis's death at the age of 29 underscored the immense pressures of maintaining an image of perfection in Hollywood's golden age. Like many actresses of her time, she faced the scrutiny of a male-dominated industry, where professional expectations often came at the cost of personal happiness. Her heartbreaking story and untimely demise remain emblematic of the darker side of fame during this glittering but unforgiving era. Amid questions of suicide and whispers of foul play, her memory endures as a cautionary tale of the unseen battles fought by many in the limelight. On August 9, 1969, the Manson family members committed one of Hollywood's most horrifying murders. Sharon Tate, 8 months pregnant and on the verge of stardom, became known not only for her beauty and talent in films like Valley of the Dolls, but also for the tragic circumstances of her death. That night, Tate, along with 4 friends, were brutally murdered in her home. This horrific act was orchestrated by the infamous cult leader Charles Manson. The killing sent shockwaves throughout the nation and shattered the idyllic image of the 1960s counterculture. It marked a definitive end to an era, as people began to question the security and safety of even the most famous. Tate was subsequently buried alongside her unborn son, and the tragedy cast a long, dark shadow over Hollywood. Her death sparked widespread conversations about the dangers and vulnerabilities associated with fame and celebrity life. The legacy of that night continues to haunt the industry to this day. Behind dazzling performances on stage and screen, Judy Garland's life was marked by extraordinary talent and immense personal struggles. Rising to stardom as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, her captivating voice and presence made her one of Hollywood's brightest stars. However, her life behind the scenes painted a different story. The pressures of rising fame weighed heavily on Garland from a young age, beginning with her early career at MGM Studios. She was placed under an intense regimen by studio executives, who enforced a punishing schedule and maintained strict control over her diet and appearance. These demands subjected her to immense stress and cultivated an early dependency on stimulants and sleeping pills, laying the foundation for a lifelong struggle with substance abuse. Despite achieving fame, her personal life was fraught with instability. Garland's relationships were consistently tumultuous, with multiple failed marriages adding further strain to her already complex life. Financial hardships plagued her throughout her years, as mismanagement and her own struggles led her to near bankruptcy several times. These challenges did not deter her from continuing to showcase her incredible artistry through films, stage performances, and television appearances, where her vulnerability often resonated deeply with audiences. Her struggles ultimately culminated in her tragic death on June 22, 1969, at the age of 47, from an accidental overdose of barbiturates. Found in her London home by her 5th husband, Mickey Deans, her passing sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Thousands of fans gathered to mourn at her public funeral, a testament to the indelible mark she left on millions of hearts. Despite the hardships she endured, Judy Garland remains one of the most beloved figures of the golden age of Hollywood. Her evocative performances and unmatched voice surpassed the years of torment and chaos that followed her. In her triumphs and tragedies, Garland became a symbol of perseverance and vulnerability, her legacy immortalized by her art and the deep connection she forged with audiences around the world. She lived a life filled with beauty and sorrow. The death of Natalie Wood, an acclaimed actress known for her roles in iconic films like Rebel Without a Cause and West Side Story, remains one of Hollywood's most puzzling mysteries. On the evening of November 28, 1981, she was aboard the yacht Splendor off Catalina Island with her husband, Robert Wagner, actor Christopher Walken, and the boat's captain, Dennis Davern. The trip began as a holiday retreat, yet it ended in unforeseen tragedy. Reports from that night described tensions on the yacht, including arguments between Wagner and Wood, reportedly over her professional relationship with Walken. In the early morning hours of November 29, Wood's absence was discovered. Search efforts began late, adding to the unanswered questions surrounding the event. Eventually, her body was found floating in the water about a mile from the yacht, dressed in a flannel nightgown, socks, and a red down jacket. Forensic reports indicated she had bruises on her arms and body, along with a fresh abrasion on her cheek. Though her death was initially ruled an accidental drowning, persistent inconsistencies in witness testimonies led to speculation about foul play. Several theories emerged, pointing to Wagner as a potential person of interest. He has denied any involvement. Further doubt surfaced during the 2011 reopening of the case, prompted by the boat's captain changing his narrative, suggesting a possible altercation between Wood and Wagner on the boat's deck shortly before she disappeared. The coroner later amended the manner of death in 2012 from accidental drowning to drowning and other undetermined factors, citing the bruises and suboptimal responses during the initial investigation. The case remains unresolved, with no new charges filed, but it continues to fascinate and haunt both the public and those connected to Natalie Wood. On the night of June 29, 1967, Jayne Mansfield's vibrant and chaotic life was abruptly ended in an instant of tragedy. A prominent figure in the entertainment industry during the 1950s and early 1960s, Mansfield was celebrated for her striking beauty, hourglass figure, and a personality that commanded attention both on and off screen. She became a symbol of Hollywood glamour, but also one of its most controversial figures due to her deliberate courting of publicity. Born Vera Jane Palmer on April 19, 1933, in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, she was the daughter of Herbert Palmer, a successful attorney, and Vera Palmer. Her early life was marked by tragedy when her father passed away unexpectedly of a heart attack when she was just 3 years old. Following this devastating loss, her mother remarried, and the family relocated to Dallas, Texas, shaping much of the young Jane's formative years. During her teenage years, Mansfield was determined to make her name in Hollywood, and idolized stars like Shirley Temple. She studied acting, music, and languages, a testament to the ambitions that would later define her career. Despite her polished talents, it was Mansfield's physical allure and talent for self-promotion that truly set her apart. By the mid-1950s, she achieved public attention not only for her film roles, but for her appearances in Playboy magazine and numerous public stunts that captured headlines. Her status as a sex symbol often overshadowed her genuine acting skills, but it brought her fame, winning her a Golden Globe and creating box office hits. She mesmerized audiences in movies like The Girl Can't Help It and Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? Mansfield's personal life was as public and colorful as her Hollywood career. She married 3 times and had 5 children, including Mariska Hargitay, who later found fame as an actress. Mansfield often incorporated her family into the limelight, adding to her public mystique. Her second marriage to Mickey Hargitay, a bodybuilder and one-time Mr. Universe, created a glamorous Hollywood power couple. However, her career began to decline in the 1960s. Larger-than-life personalities like Marilyn Monroe had already set the standard for blonde bombshells, and Mansfield's increasingly attention-grabbing antics began overshadowing her artistic abilities. Yet, she remained a constant presence in tabloids, appearing in low-budget movies and live performances, striving to keep her star from fading. Tragedy struck while Mansfield was on this relentless pursuit of relevance. After performing in Biloxi, Mississippi, she and her entourage drove toward New Orleans in the late hours of June 28 into the early morning of June 29. The car, driving through misty, darkened conditions, collided with a tractor-trailer that obstructed the road. The impact was catastrophic, instantly killing Mansfield, her attorney, and her driver. Her 3 children, who were asleep in the back seat, survived the crash with minor injuries. Among these children was Mariska Hargitay, who later reflected on her childhood memories and the legacy left by her extraordinary mother. The accident was so infamous that it led to widespread, albeit exaggerated, rumors about the details of her death. However, its fallout had real-world implications. It led to federal laws requiring under-ride guards on trucks to prevent similar mishaps. This posthumous impact is a testament to the abruptness of her departure and the gravity of the loss. Yet it added another layer to her legacy. Mansfield's death at the young age of 34 brought her brief yet flamboyant life to a shocking halt, and cemented her legend as the quintessential Hollywood bombshell, whose trajectory was as tumultuous as it was meteoric. She left behind a legacy of enduring fascination, as much for her undeniable radiance as for the cautionary tale of a life under the Hollywood spotlight. On January 16, 1942, the beloved actress Carole Lombard, admired for her remarkable talent in screwball comedies and her luminous presence on screen, met an untimely end. Known for films like My Man Godfrey and To Be or Not to Be, Lombard's life abruptly concluded in a tragic crash when Transcontinental and Western Airlines Flight 3 collided with Potosi Mountain in Nevada. She had been on a mission to support the war effort. Her Midwest War Bond tour raised over $2 million for the U.S. military during the challenging early days of World War II. Eager to return to her husband, Clark Gable, in Los Angeles, she chose to fly despite alternate transportation suggestions. Aboard the DC-3 were Lombard, her mother Elizabeth Peters, and MGM press agent Otto Winkler. Reports later revealed that navigational errors contributed to the crash. Outdated charts and the failure to adjust the plane's route led directly to the collision with the mountain. Everyone on board perished. The loss of Carole Lombard was a significant blow not just to Clark Gable but to her many fans and the entire country. Gable, stricken with grief, quickly traveled to the crash site and later withdrew from his public life, delaying his return to Hollywood. His profound sorrow drove him to enlist in the U.S. Army Air Forces, where he hoped to find solace by contributing directly to the war effort. His enlistment was viewed as both a tribute to his late wife and a means of coping with his heartbreak. In remembrance of her efforts and sacrifice, Lombard became an emblem of patriotism and devotion. Her final film, To Be or Not to Be, was released a month after her death, immortalizing her talent and charm. Through her iconic roles and her commitment to the war bond campaign, Lombard left an enduring legacy that continues to resonate. Despite a closer look into additional resources, I couldn't retrieve any further information to enrich the requested script. Let me craft your request based solely on the provided introduction and my available insights.